Houston, we have a problem.
I feel the need for speed. Ow!
My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates.
Help me help you.
You are a boy!
My team is dead!
There's no crying in baseball!
Relax. This pod is making you aggressive.
Well done!
You complete me.
Hello and welcome back to weboughtamic, a podcast about movies, television, music, and more. On today's episode, we return to our series on the films of Tom Hanks and Tom Cruise. Tom v. Tom, A Tale of Two Toms. Cruisemas.
We never clap on this pod.
I
know.
Maybe we should do that more
Do you
often.
want me to, should I tap into the, what's it called?
I do. How confident are you before you press a button on that?
I'm actually
So-
0% confidence.
Okay, all right. So let's
I
see.
don't even want to be around anymore.
Okay. Okay. Well, that was appropriate in some way.
Thanks.
Welcome. My name's Ernest.
My name's Hunter. I don't have a quote pulled up in time. I'm sorry. I was trying to search and find something, and I didn't want to do the whole breathing.
Sleepless in Orlando.
Sleepless. I'm without sleep.
Mm.
Horses.
I literally was just telling you guys before the pod, I slept for 12 fucking hours last night.
That's not sleepless.
So yeah,
Couldn't be me.
That's
yeah.
sleep full.
You're
You're well rested.
Yeah. And my GF is alive, so take that, Tom Hanks. I'm Drew. And can our guest hear when you hit the buttons, or is it just all nonsense? Let's ask. Kyra, can you hear when he hits a button?
Yes, I can. I can.
Okay. All right. That's good.
Well, thank God.
Okay.
From Zillennial Canon, welcome back to the show, Kyra. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm very happy to be here talking about one of my favorite movies in the world. I do have some beef, though, because last time I was on your podcast, or one of you was on my podcast, one of you or all of you said that you were going to do a Tom Cruise, Tom Hanks series. And I said, can I please do Austin Powers and Goldmember? And somebody said yes.
I didn't say yes.
So that would have had to be yours.
Yes.
We don't make booking decisions, so don't look at Drew or I.
Well, okay.
Executive
so
producer Ernest over here.
The problem with doing Goldmember is that's not really a Tom Cruise movie. That's a movie that Tom Cruise is in for one scene.
It's a great scene though.
So if we
One of his best roles.
If we do a Mike Myers film series, perhaps.
What if we do a Patreon episode, but it's just about the Tom Cruise scene in Austin Powers?
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
feel free to share any and all Goldmember thoughts on this episode. But when I was building the list of episodes, there were some hard cuts. There are a lot of movies that we're not covering that I wish we would be. But hey, never say never. As long as we have electricity in the nation of the United States and the ability to publish things onto the internet, we could be cranking out pods.
Mike
forever.
Myers series would be
bleak.
It would get sad real quick.
Don't say that.
The highs would be really fun, but it would not be a long one. I'll say that much.
And our guest on every episode would be Kyra.
Yeah, I have seen, fortunately and unfortunately, every single thing that Mike Myers has ever been in. Lost TV specials, everything. Yeah.
So where do you think his work in Bohemian Rhapsody kind of fits in the pantheon of Mike Myers?
That was actually the only thing that we didn't watch for Movie Club because we didn't want to force people to watch that. But I have seen it. I've ranked all of his performances, and that is at the bottom, if not very close to the bottom.
It's not, no.
Above-
But what about whenever you factor in that Freddie Mercury would have never made Queen if it wasn't for Mike Myers? Then that kind of has to trickle it up, right?
Is it above or below The Love Guru?
Oh, Love Guru is above that by like 2 or 3.
Okay. That tells you a lot about both of those films. Well, today we're talking Sleepless in Seattle, a Nora Ephron film. It is the reunion of Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan after they were on Joe versus the Volcano, which Sean guested on, your partner, Amazing episode. Maybe not the best film, I will say. Not a bad film, but we had a great time with Sean. And now we're continuing the Meg and Tom train here with Sleepless in Seattle, a movie that is famous for keeping the two of them apart the entire film.
Mm-hmm.
That's really kind of all I knew going into it.
For as long as
Had you
fate
never
could.
seen Sleepless in Seattle?
I had
before?
never seen this movie before.
Oh
No,
man,
never.
To be you.
God.
Yeah. There's a lot of as the character of Sam in this film says, that's a chick flick.
That's fucked.
Yeah.
Have you seen You've Got Mail?
I don't think so.
Oh man,
Yeah.
So I'm excited to watch You Got Mail.
Yeah.
too.
There's a lot of first time watches in this
Yeah,
series.
it's You've Got Mail is awesome too, except it's the only difference is Tom Hanks is like 30% more bloated in that one than he is in this one.
So-
Otherwise, same deal.
So I want to get your overall thoughts on Tom, on the Toms, maybe, Kyra, and kind of zoom out a little bit, but just off the rip, I'll say that I love this movie. I don't know if it's gonna be my favorite of like the romantic Hanks series, but it's interesting comparing it to Joe versus the Volcano, because I think in a lot of ways it's more successful than that film, but that movie has Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan together
Right.
the majority of the time, and this one doesn't. So I'll be curious to see, like, through our discussion, kind of how that hook of these two people don't meet until the end of the movie informs a lot of our feelings about the movie. Because that's kind of my main takeaway is like, it's a great movie, but the main hook about it is something that is keeping me from loving it as much as I thought I would.
Grow up.
So I'll work through my feelings. But Kyra, I want to hear from you. Other than the beef involving you not being able to cover Goldmember, why did you choose this movie? And what are some of your thoughts on Hanks, some broader Hanks thoughts?
So Hanks definitely is a comforting presence to me, as he is to, I think, like every single person in the world, other than like conspiracy theorists that are like, he's like drinking baby blood or whatever they think he's doing. But I definitely grew up watching this specific movie. I don't know why. This was like one movie that I feel like was always on cable, like when I would come home from school. Also, it's like one of my mom's favorite movies, so it'd just be like, if it's on, we're putting it on. So this was like the Tom Hanks that I like knew and loved growing up. He's also just like a cutie in this movie, and like, yeah, I'm just obsessed with like Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan together. I saw You've Got Mail probably like a few years after I saw this, but that's so true that like I feel like I always forget that they just like don't talk until the end of the movie, like to each other. And that's really crazy. But yeah, this is probably like my favorite Nora Ephron movie, and it definitely feels like one, like I feel like everyone always goes directly to You've Got Mail or like When Harry Met Sally, but I feel like this is my favorite one.
Well, the DVD box.
Yeah, I
says
I sent a picture of the DVD that I have because I watched this on DVD. I don't need you, Max. And this on the cover of the box, it says the movie that started it all.
Right.
What did it start
Also,
exactly?
10th anniversary box.
10th anniversary box. Although I will say, if we're saying about a movie it started it all, it's definitely When Harry Met Sally. That's the movie that
Another
started
Nora
it
Ephron
all.
film. She didn't direct. So
No, that was a Rob Reiner directed movie, but this is only Nora Ephron's second directed movie.
after something called This Is My Life.
Have you seen This Is My Life?
I've never heard of This Is My Life.
No? Okay. Yeah, no, I haven't either.
No,
I will
no.
say, I had not seen this movie in many years. I think I've seen this movie like a dozen or more times because it's kind of a similar thing to you, Kyra. Like, this is one of my mom's like top 5 favorite movies ever. So it's just on all the time. And, you know, Tom Hanks is such a cutie pie in this movie. His hair, impeccable hair. We'll talk about it more, but Nora Ephron's interior design is like the most ultimate goals ever in the world. Tom Hanks's house, I don't know how much money he is paying for that house, how much money he is raking in as an architect and
It's got to be big.
and like a dockside house.
Is that house like on the sound?
It kind of looks like a boat house.
That he's wasting the real estate that should be a fucking wharf, bro.
I think it's a houseboat.
That's what I thought it was.
I feel like I
But
think
it's
this
2
movie
stories.
is how I found out what a houseboat is.
It's like the biggest houseboat though that I've like ever seen in my life. Just because you go inside and then the interior is not you would expect.
Should we
it to look
investigate like the housing market of Seattle in the mid-90s?
I think it's legit.
Was this a deal?
See, I don't think it's quite a houseboat. I think it's it's one of those like those restaurants that like hang over a body of water, because I don't think it's capable of moving. But in that case, like that has to cost so much fucking money.
It's like an insane amount
of
money. But I don't know.
living.
Listen, he's raking it in. He was able to just like leave Chicago and be like, I think I'm just going to move to Seattle and buy like a multi-million-dollar house on the water. So he's fine. He's
childcare. I'll just get some weird girl with a bob.
Dude,
like, doesn't say anything.
What's her name? Celine or Clarice. Clarice's fits were like the most 90s Seattle core shit that I've ever seen.
I know. She's dressed like a fucking. She's dressed like a Zoomer.
We'll get to it because her and Bill Pullman are innocent. These people,
man, Bill Pullman
are insane.
The amount of times that I wrote down,
and they did nothing. They did nothing wrong. They were wronged by our main two insane people.
Hanks didn't even do anything wrong though.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
It's
like,
mostly Annie.
It's Annie and his fucking son.
I want to talk about on what date? Like, is it date number 2 where Annie's like, yeah, so I did like kind of stalk you and I hired a private detective and like flew across the country so I could sneak on you and your kid.
It's got to be way faster than that because he's seen her and he remembers her. You know what I mean? Like he saw her in Seattle.
Watching him.
Yeah. So like, it's going to be pretty quick. They're going to have to rip that. Like on the elevator down on the Empire State Building, he's like, so wait a minute. That wasn't.
And she's like, well, you can't write. And he's like, wait, no, my son wrote you. So they don't even talk to each other.
You know what though? That ending is really good.
That's right, bitch.
I don't care how flimsy a lot of the logic in this movie is.
Doesn't matter.
That moment when they meet at the top of the Empire State, brother, it was in my feels.
Yeah.
In my feels.
You know why? Because these two actors are peaking. They're both so unbelievably good. Meg Ryan in particular, I want to shout her out.
Talk about a cutie
can.
pie.
She is so unbelievably compelling when she's even just like acting against like a radio. You know what I mean? And because that's like kind of what a lot of the movie is. It's just like her
listening.
Yeah, her just like hearing the radio and her just like looking up, like driving or something. Like she is so insanely compelling to watch. I love her. She got absolutely thrown away by Hollywood and it's fucked up.
Kyra, thoughts on Meg?
I definitely agree. Just her like sitting by herself. Like we've discussed like them being apart like the whole movie. I think for some reason I always think about like her hair throughout like all movies, and I feel like that's definitely something like, this is like so weird, but I feel like I grew up being like, I want like Meg Ryan's hair. And then unfortunately in like 2022 I took a picture of Meg Ryan to a hair salon and I got the worst haircut I've ever had in my life. But, like,
you got like a may I speak to your
blow
manager?
this out.
yeah, and like I like took in a picture of her like carrying a pumpkin and You've Got Mail, and the hair lady was like, "Are you sure?" And I was like, "Yes." But yeah, I love Meg Ryan. She's definitely like, she feels like a distant aunt to me, just how often I saw her as a child.
Yeah, and she's a great foil to Tom Hanks because they're both coasting on the exact same movie star thing of like sort of playing a version of the same character in every movie. She's always a bit aloof and like, you know, maybe a sucker for love.
Yeah, she was the original like girl next door kind of prototype that people were looking for in these roles.
Yeah, and she's always, you know, exactly. She plays it so fucking good. And obviously, I mean, Nora is like dishing out, you know, bangers for her to act too.
Well,
so
that's what I was going to say that I didn't realize about this movie, probably because I hadn't seen it since I was like a teenager. But This movie is more of like an ensemble piece that I remember.
Rob
like not
Reiner's
just
in there.
Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan, Rob Reiner in an absolutely hilarious scene in the diner where he's talking about tiramisu.
Director of When Harry Met Sally.
Bill Pullman, of course, we mentioned him. Our poor boy Walter. I love him. Just the world doesn't deserve you, Bill Pullman. Rosie O'Donnell, perfectly.
She's great. I really
Our
liked her.
boy David Hyde Pierce, who's in like 2 scenes in this movie, and just absolutely killing it.
I think this is like right around when Frasier dropped, I want to say. Does that sound
Oh
right?
yeah. He's what's his name? Nigel?
Niles.
Oh, sorry.
Niles.
Frasier is
It's very funny because
because what?
Frasier's like my favorite show ever.
Frasier's
And, like,
Frasier's a fucking phenomenal sitcom to go back and watch. It's aged well.
There's like, I don't know, Nigel.
I like put 2 and 2 together though. Like when I rewatched this like last month also, I could watch this every single day. I don't care. But it's so Frasier is about a radio psychiatrist that lives in Seattle and his brother is David Hyde Pierce. And then this is about kind of radio psychiatry, I guess. And it takes place in Seattle and David Hyde Pierce is there. So like, and I think is her brother. So I'm just like, it's a little sus.
This
Frasier is canon in the Sleepless in Seattle universe, is what you're saying.
I think in my brain, I had combined Frasier and Sleepless in Seattle a little bit, and I thought that like radio does play a key role in this movie, but I thought that it was like a much more core part of the story. Just my headcanon of this movie.
It kind of is.
It is.
It kind of is. Like,
No,
we're
I
talking
thought-
about the best scene of the movie might just be them on the radio, that first call.
I thought that like Tom Hanks was Frasier. That's what I thought was going to happen. I thought Hanks Frasier.
Okay. I don't know what you're getting at there.
That he was the radio man. For some reason, that's what I was expecting.
I gotcha. Not that he is.
This is, generally speaking, this is at the genesis of Seattle becoming like a major.
People were discovering Seattle.
Yeah, so
they're like, oh yeah.
Seattle was Portland in
Starbucks is absolutely exploding in the 90s, and it's like importing Seattle culture to the rest of the US. And then you have Nirvana drops in like late 91, I want to say. Well, at least Nevermind does. You know, they had been around, but like that explodes and it's like, whoa, is Seattle like a cultural icon? They should have met at the top of the Space Needle.
Yeah, I know. I was like, why are they going on?
They had to go to a third city, okay?
Yeah, why did they go to a third? Why are there 4 cities in this?
There's a lot of like showing the map of the United States.
That's why, because they're going. It's like it's Chicago to Seattle, and then Baltimore to Seattle, and then back to New York.
Listen, they just really wanted to show off those like polygons on that 3D topography map that they had.
That's a setup the final shot of the movie.
That thing looked like shit.
It looked, man, the final shot of this where it zooms out and it's just like some fucking polygon. It was insane. I was like, what a way to end this movie.
That said, I absolutely love this movie. It's so good. It's so cool. It's such a novel concept. It's pulled off so well because you have to have a guy who is so compelling that you could see thousands of women falling in love with him just from one radio interview. And if anyone, it's going to be Hanks. Got a very compelling voice. Mm-hmm. He's Woody 2 years later.
Yeah,
he was actually recording his lines for Woody while doing Sleepless in Seattle.
Oh,
fun fact.
Hey,
because they it's such a long lead up for the production of an animated movie. That makes
especially
sense.
It's the first Pixar movie.
Yeah.
So this is years and years.
And then you have to still like Meg Ryan, even though she's being fucking crazy. And she's really, really likable. So it ends up working out, even though like still at multiple points in the movie, you're like, this is unacceptable, lady. Like, oh my God. And like, maybe, it's sort of helped a little bit by Rosie O'Donnell almost like coming around to the idea, being like, yeah, no, you're right. This is crazy.
I fucking hate my husband.
This is, by the way, a reunion. The second movie in the Tom series where we have Hanks, O'Donnell, and Bill Pullman.
Yeah, League of Their Own.
Yeah.
I totally forgot Bill Pullman was in League of Their Own.
Reunion.
Yeah. I think O'Donnell pops a little bit more in this one than in League of Their Own. I think she blended a little bit more into the cast.
She's awesome.
Have you seen A League of Their Own, Kyra?
I
The
have
baseball
not,
movie?
and my rep theater is actually showing it pretty soon, so hopefully I'll be able to see it soon.
It's a good one. It's surprisingly not as much of a Hanks movie as you'd expect.
Like it's like really barely.
Yeah. He's really good in it, but it's much more about the ladies.
It's a Gina Davis movie.
Yes, and Madonna. Did we want to go kind of like in order of the plot, or do you guys have any like?
Hey man,
more
I mean, you tell me.
overall thoughts?
Is this the episode where we establish a structure?
I mean, sometimes it's a good way to talk about the movie.
Yeah.
Just kind of go.
I will say
through what happens,
because this ties in, because this is all very early on in the movie, but it's just an overarching thing about the film. This script, like, that is the reason why this movie is so rewatchable, is because this is like a near flawless script whenever it comes to just people and dialogue happening. The throwaway comedic lines in this movie are fucking hilarious. Like the first time that we are at Meg Ryan's family dinner, my guy Harold is just over there. He's like, bees, I'm allergic to bees. And just like, you never know. You never know.
I found a lot of the jokes in this movie did not age particularly well.
You're being
know.
being a bitch.
I don't know what you're talking about. This is like some of the comedy on here is just like, oh, this is why they made, like, you can see the seeds for They Came Together and like all of these other movies that we love and something like that. Some of the line delivery is impeccable.
I felt like there was some stuff that was very much like very dated in the 90s, like very much trying to make commentary about like, oh, women ask the men out now? Oh, how silly is that?
I mean, there's some of that, but also like, I think that there is a lot. I mean, whenever you're making a comedy, it's like the hit rate whenever you're watching, the further that you get removed from something, there's going to be like topical jokes that don't work. But what I like is that there's almost just such like a nudgingness to it. Like another thing that happens in that dining scene is they're talking about like The Pride of the Yankees, like an old movie and something like that. And another relative like leans over to the other, he's like, baseball, that's a historical reference. Like there's like little throwaway lines like that are in here. Whenever they're driving in the car, right before you have the big like Sleepless in Seattle, the radio scene, on the radio, whenever Meg Ryan is flipping through channels, of course, we get horses, 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 horses. And she changed the channel. It just says, coming up, Jingle Bell backwards, sung by the choir. It's so fucking good. And there's little like levels of those jokes and throwaway lines.
It's a lot of media consumption in the movie. It's, you know, a lot of references to this old like Cary Grant movie that wasn't even particularly popular. I think that's very cool.
Fair to remember.
Yeah, just a lot of cultural references. Like that wasn't as common back then to have a script that was just full of like people talking about movies and shows and stuff.
Sure,
it's like the Woody Allen thing, and then just kind of that permeating more into a more accessible.
Yeah.
Kyra, do you have any favorite humor moments? What do you think of the humor overall in the movie?
I think it's very funny how like, so the kid is like calling Tom Hanks's girlfriend a hoe, and it's like, okay, well, he's a kid, and then like 2 scenes later, like Meg Ryan is like, she didn't look like a hoe, and it's like, why are you calling her a hoe? But yeah, I do agree, like a lot of it is dated. I think like the idea of like the gender roles of it all, like the jokes regarding gender roles, is very Nora Ephron for good or bad reasons. Like I feel like her entire thing is based on extremely rigid gender roles, not really ever like criticizing them, but also like it's a rom-com. I'm not gonna, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, it kind of has to do a lot of that because of the genre it's operating in. I think we forget how built this formula was at the time, especially in a post When Harry Met Sally world, where people came to these movies kind of knowing what to expect. So you kind of had to put a lot of that stuff in because the audience kind of demanded it, because these movies were just so prevalent at the time. So I definitely understand that. I am curious to see more Nora Ephron movies because aside from this and When Harry Met Sally, I really haven't seen any of her other movies. We will watch Michael. There will come a day when we will watch Michael.
Listen, I have the DVD at the ready.
I have the VHS.
Oh, okay. We could watch it in multi.
Have you seen Michael?
Watch it in VHS
Kira?
and then I'll throw it in full screen DVD.
Yes.
How are we feeling?
Do y'all know about? Do y'all know about the song in the middle of it?
No. Oh no.
There's a great performance. How do you guys feel about Andie MacDowell?
She's singing. She's singing a song in the movie. Hey, big fan of her work in like skincare commercials in the 2010s.
Yeah, it's pretty great. Yeah, I mean it's an okay movie. It's fine.
I definitely have only seen like bits and pieces of the Nora Ephron. I think I've seen obviously When Harry Met Sally in this. You've Got Mail. I Bewitched. I used to watch
remake.
Yeah, I watched Bewitched,
I think I've seen
the
that.
remake.
Will Ferrell, Nicole Kidman.
Mhm. Yeah, that one. And then Julie and Julia is great.
I think
Love Julie.
I think out of context, Michael is the funniest movie poster I've ever seen.
Yeah,
in my
it's
life.
insane. It's deranged. It's insane.
Every time I look at it, I smile.
His face.
I've never known what it's about. I don't.
The
care.
tagline is "He's an angel, not a saint."
And then you look down, and there's a little dog down there in the corner. It's so cool.
Also,
I don't need to know anything else.
if you, I guess that tagline does give it away, but if you just look at it, you don't really know that he is
kind of
Michael the angel.
Yes, yeah.
He looks like he looks like this could be like a Jack type movie.
It's like Jack, but also this could be like Face Off, and you don't really know what you're getting into here based on that smile.
Between now and our You've Got Mail episode, we should watch this movie.
So if you want to, let's go through the plot a little bit chronologically, because this movie is very plot dense because it has to be, because these people are not interacting.
So we start off with funeral, dead wife, which to me was a huge shocker. I was like, what? Did I put on the wrong movie?
No, the 90s.
Is this a flash forward and Meg Ryan is dead?
The 90s were peak dead wife.
Oh, God, really?
Full House.
Oh, yeah.
There's a second
Whatever
thing.
Everybody
happened
was
to
like,
the
God, why
milkman?
won't my wife die already? So I can meet Meg Ryan.
Well, I think it accomplishes a lot in just that basic setup, because right away you immediately feel so connected to Hanks.
Yeah.
You're like, my poor boy. Please look out for him.
And this is the
He's
first
fragile.
This is the first time that Hanks has looked like, I guess Philadelphia in this is the first time he's looked old enough to at least have gone through something.
He's fully out of like boy era.
Yeah.
Like this is not, he does not pass as like a young lad.
But yeah, no, it establishes up front, like, he's basically saying it to you, like, emotionally, I am now dead inside. I do not care about romance.
Incredible sad boy acting in this, which also I want to shout out while we're talking about Amir, because this is the first time that we're also introduced to his son.
I love this kid.
Jonah. Do you guys know who this kid is? Ross Malinger.
Yeah.
One, he is TJ Detweiler from Recess.
Facts, baby. Let's
So,
go.
Hear that voice and immediately was like, that's Tej. I know that.
He got replaced at some point in Recess, though, because he
Oh.
went through puberty.
Well, L for our guy. What I know him from, and Kyra, I don't know if you know this because this is Zillennial Canon, is the film Toothless. Do you guys know what the movie Toothless is?
Is this a decom?
Yeah, it's like decom pre-decom, but it was a Disney like VHS was on Disney Channel like simultaneously released.
1997.
So the plot for this movie is insane.
Oh, it's an ABC Family.
Is it ABC?
Christy
Family? I thought
Alley?
it was a
Yo,
Disney-
Christy Alley?
I thought it was a Disney Channel.
It says it was a made-for-TV movie aired on The Wonderful World of Disney on ABC.
Absolutely deranged movie. Who is the star of it? I
Christy
forget.
Alley.
Yeah, Christy Alley. Yeah, her family is like a long line of dentists, and she gets in a car crash and like isn't good enough to go to heaven or hell, so she's in limbo and she has to become the Tooth Fairy.
Okay, so this was big
the
inspiration
fuck?
for The Rock.
Yeah,
That's cool.
It's insane. And then she like meets this child. She meets a young Ross Malinger, whose like parents are just completely ignoring him and won't pay any attention to him. And only like kids can see her because she's the Tooth Fairy, and she like breaks the rule of Tooth Fairy and like magical being lore so that she can reveal herself to adults. It's deranged. Absolutely. Like I remember seeing it as a kid and being like, what is happening right
So
now
what
with
does
this
Steph
movie?
do with Sleepless?
That's where I recognize this kid from, is Ross Malinger.
But he's not the main kid. He's
Yeah,
the side.
He's like one of the side kids.
Okay.
though. I recognized him from that immediately.
He's the friend.
You see that teeth and gum line and you recognize this fucking guy. You know who he is.
This kid worked. Kindergarten Cop.
I don't remember him from Kindergarten Cop.
I guess he was just like a kid around.
A kid about. So
Also, his friend, another child actor,
Gabby
Miss
Hoffman.
Gabby Hoffman.
Mhm.
Loved
Hey,
her.
also, yeah, I mean, I'd loved her in Transparent as an adult. She's fucking awesome.
Oh my God, that was her.
That's Gabby Hoffman,
I did
dude.
not recognize her.
She's so good. She had like a long break, between like because she was like a pretty prolific kid actor, and then adult acting. She's one of the best parts of Transparent.
She actually, I mean, unfortunately for our boy Ross Malinger, he is one of those child actors that you can kind of look at and be like, you're probably not going to make it as an adult kid once you go through puberty.
Kyra, what are your thoughts on how this movie opens? Like everything leading up to Meg Ryan in the car listening to the radio show. So I guess meeting her, what is this, Christmas dinner with the family, and then the whole like dead wife of Hank setup.
I think it's pretty bold to start not only the movie on a funeral, but to start the movie on Christmas, because then you're like, well, where are we going from here? But that's also kind of like, I mean, like overall as a whole, that's why I kind of like this movie, because it's like it takes place in the depressing time between Christmas and Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
So it's like a depressing winter movie. But yeah, I mean, I love like the vibe of like her family, and her kind of feeling like not like superstitious about them getting married, but you just see like the banter of like how her fiance doesn't really like fit in with her family, and how they're all just kind of like they're kind of like sus about him. I think it's like really amazing exposition on both her character and Tom Hanks's character without really saying a lot.
Yeah, I think it's a harder, like a more difficult obstacle to clear for the Meg Ryan character. I think it's a little easier for us to connect to Hanks because of the dead wife. Immediately, you're like, I already love Tom Hanks, and now he has a dead wife. Like, I'm on board. I'm fully tapped into whatever this character is going on. I think it's a little bit more difficult with Meg Ryan. I think she is phenomenal in this movie. I love her performance. The driving scene alone is like, I think she should have been nominated for an Oscar just for that scene. But everything that you're talking about with the family, I think is really important setup, because there's something with this character that carries through the entire movie that's seated here. There's a sadness to her character that's really prevalent, and it doesn't come out of nowhere, because I think it's something really critical that happens where at the end of the movie, when she hands the ring back to Bill Pullman, you don't hate her for doing that. You're like on board with her doing that.
He doesn't fucking hate
Right.
her.
Yeah, she just
Which
didn't
I'm
feel
like-
the magic.
I'm like, come on, Bill. Can we be a little more upset about this? Like, let's step it
No,
up.
Walter's an angel. Walter would
I really enjoy, and it's kind of fucked up, but the fact that you instantly know that he's not the one because he has allergies.
Okay.
Like, they use it as
Man, I
have thoughts.
Big
about
L.
they really discriminate against
as someone
people.
who's got to just like hit that Zyrtec every single day.
Yeah,
This is
like
my
they're
Sinex,
fucking they're destroying our guy for having like a CPAP.
As someone whose wife has to take care of him sometimes
listen.
when he's laying sick in the bed.
No, the problem is though, well, I think importantly in this movie, because you do see this and you don't really hate any character in this movie. You're right. It's really in the wedding dress scene, like right after the diner scene,
It's
where
sad.
they're just talking about like the magic, and they're like, oh man, I remember the first time I laid eyes on him. Like everybody has this like magical story, and she's like, I don't know. We worked together, and I looked at him and thought he was cute, but like they never had the magic moment happen. And you know, it's a movie. They gotta get moonstruck
when they're walking out of the house, and she's like, "Is your name really just Walter?" That's it.
It's not like
there's no alternative.
When the kids call you like Wally.
I thought that was really funny. He's like, no.
He's like, no one will ever love a man named Walter. That's it.
The disappointment in her voice when she's like, oh, okay, all right. That's when you know it's Jover.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, you do still like him though. You know what I mean? It's not like he's like Egbert.
I love him. I think he's great. I think he doesn't deserve to be treated this way.
No,
I hope he lives a happy life.
Walter is immediately like walking out from that restaurant and like finding like 8 new wife prospects right there. Everybody's getting to Bill Pullman. Do you see Bill Pullman in this movie? All right.
He's shopping at Tiffany's.
Yeah,
like it's nothing.
Dog, my guy is good. Okay.
I think that again, going back to like the expectations of the audience coming into a rom-com. There's something about this being a movie, right? Where you are so on board with this idea of like, it's not enough to just be a happy couple that just lives their life without any conflict or excitement or anything. You have to be swept up off your feet. You have to be so magically and hopelessly in love beyond belief. And I think that one of the things Ephron is trying to do in this movie is give you a scenario in which you do have this almost out of this world romance, but it's communicated through something very believable. Like there are things in this movie that are, you know, very movie-like and not super believable, but I think it is trying to give you that feeling of it could only happen in the movies, but it's happening to people that we believe are real.
Mm-hmm. Because they're saying that.
Right.
In the movie. They're like, that only happens in movies.
And then it does.
Mm-hmm. It works really well.
I think like her like obsession also, like clearly Nora Ephron's obsession with like old Hollywood and like classic movies, that shows through like all of her movies. And even like the characters like talking about them. It's like, clearly everyone's like idea of love comes from these old movies, like everyone in the movie, their idea of love, but also you could tell that Nora Ephron's idea of love comes from all those movies, whether she's like critiquing them or remaking them or whatever. Like that's just like her like basic thesis statement on love is just like whatever happened like magically in these old movies.
Yeah, I also think that it really informs how she like shoots this movie more than any of our other movies that I can remember, because I remember there being more sort of modern elements in like You've Got Mail, but this movie has a lot of those sort of like you know, in any ensemble scene where people are talking, it's those sort of like pulled back, like full set, like tableau shots. Mm-hmm. And it almost, this sound, especially in any group scene where people are talking, you can hear like the reverb in the room, like they're using old school like mics, right, you know, from like a 50s movie. And I think it really helps this movie a lot.
It grounds it.
Yeah, I don't know. It makes it feel cool. Like you almost trick yourself into thinking they're talking in transatlantic voice. You know what I mean? Just because, yeah, because it has that sound to it. It works really well.
So then the radio scene, I think to me is, aside from the ending, like probably the best part in the movie. It's just such an effective way to trick you into thinking that these people are together, that they're acting together when they're not. Like this movie has to give you these moments of making you forget that Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks are not on screen together. And this sequence, I think, is pretty masterful in doing that. It's just Hanks on the phone with the radio show host, and you can hear his voice on the radio, and she's just listening. She's just driving in the car, listening to this radio show while he's talking to Miss Therapist radio lady.
Well, I think
Dr. Marcia Fieldstone.
Dr. Marcia Fieldstone.
Yes, thank you.
Don't call her Marcia.
Dr. Marshall.
No, so yes, I think that like the beautiful thing about this sequence is that you're right. It does have that moment where you can feel a connection between the two of them, despite the fact they're thousands of miles away. But another thing that I really like about this movie is that, at least for me, my reading on Sleepless in Seattle is that it's not even necessarily so much about like, will Sam and what is Meg Ryan's character's name? Annie. Will Sam and Annie like make it? It's more about like the idea of these people. Like they both are just kind of craving this idea of a magical spark with a person. And like, it's not just Annie either. It's all of these women that are hearing Tom Hanks on the radio. Like this becomes a little bit of a minor phenomenon that they're all just like, oh, somebody who's open and talking about their feelings. Unlike my deadbeat husband, like I want to feel that spark and feel that feeling. Everybody is craving, like yearning for that. In the same way, Tom Hanks is just like, I'm so like lonely and sad and like I feel like I'm going to be alone forever. And now at least I'm getting attention, even if it's not like necessarily I'm feeling the spark or anything else. For every 1,000 of love letters I'm getting, that's another door that's possibly open.
We got to mention the son is a huge part of this. I feel like Hanks would stay sad.
What that's
if it wasn't for the
that's
kid.
what I had forgotten about the movie is that like Hanks is really reluctant for not in the beginning for like almost the whole movie.
I mean, he's grieving.
Literally the whole movie.
It makes sense.
Well, and then also when he starts dating again, he's like, yes, this is a sensible choice. You know, like we know each other and this is what you do. You just like go.
I'm
on
a
date.
man. You're a woman.
Yeah. Like he's like trying to stop himself from feeling any sense of, you know, because he's like, I can't feel that anymore. Like I won't feel that again. He's got his guard up.
I do like him getting ready for the date, freaking out. That was a good
it works really well. But yeah, the son is like a, you know, a facilitator of this whole thing, works awesome. And I really wonder why Nora and the other two dudes who wrote the original script, why they decided to have that it had to be a two-hander of children that are making all this shit happen.
Oh, Jennifer?
Oh, the friend?
I guess because if it was just the son who like had such a fully realized vision of love and
She's
magic.
a bit of a stinker.
Yeah, Jennifer
Oh, yeah.
kind of sucks.
She's a little shit.
I don't think she's that bad, but she's kind
stealing her parents' credit cards and shit.
Oh, I missed that.
It's I mean, she books a flight to New York. I'm assuming that she had to pay for that somehow.
I mean, there's a lot of things that happens towards the end of
if you have a computer, literally anything is possible.
That's true.
You can do
Like who? I mean, I'm not paying for it, so like I don't know who
you could
is.
find Sam Architect, fax private detective.
Is that Alta Vista?
Yeah, I really enjoy the two of them as initiators. Like the son in a very raw way, where he calls the radio lady because he genuinely just like wants answers. He's like, yeah, my dad's fucking miserable. This sucks. Forces Tom on the air. I love the chemistry between Tom and the kid. Tom's, you know, he's good with the kiddos. You know why? Because he's a good fucking guy. He raised his son Chet right. That's one thing we can all agree on. And it just, I don't know, it works. It works on a lot of levels because yeah, we have to believe that like that he would willingly get on the air, which is like kind of a big buy-in. Like 99% of the time, it's just like, what the fuck are you doing? Get
Hang
off
up.
the fucking
Hang
phone.
up. Yeah.
Yeah. And he, you know, he gets on and then he's just like in a vulnerable moment and all of a sudden like everyone in the world loves him.
Because he's Hanks.
It's Hanks.
And he has a dead wife.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone, they can't help themselves. They're like, what? He has a dead wife?
Love the lady who plays Dr. Marcia, by the way. It's a known character. Oh yeah, Caroline Aaron.
We never see her, right?
No,
Yeah,
but
just hear her voice.
she's very, because like, you know, Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan, like during the phone call are like rolling their eyes at the idea of this lady, of like Dr. Marcia feels them. They're like, oh yeah, you know, she's full of shit. Which is good because, like, you know, if there was no cynicism toward that idea, then this movie would be stupid.
Yeah.
Like, it is full of shit.
It is a thing, though, where it's just like, it's all of these pieces that we're talking about working together. It's the performances, it's the writing. Like, I don't think that scene works in the same way that does without the breathe in, breathe out line by Tom Hanks at the very end. It's like you needed just one big final moment of like, what are you going to do next? Like, well, I'm going to get out of bed every morning, breathe in, out all day long. Then after a while, I won't have to remind myself
That's really
to get out of
good.
bed every morning, breathe in, breathe out.
Again,
Like,
there's
Jesus
a there's
Christ,
a
that's so
sadness.
sad.
Yeah, it's like, okay,
That's
fucking
so
BoJack.
sad.
Jesus.
So
Yeah.
the next chunk of the movie is really just we're seeing Meg Ryan with Bill Pullman. We're seeing their relationship. We're seeing Hanks with the kid. You know, they're kind of adjusting to their new life. There's a scene where he has like a vision of his dead wife in front of him, and he talks to her
On New Year's. Mhm.
We see them at work. We see them with their friends, just kind of adjusting to this life. I like the moment where they're brushing their teeth.
That's a great one.
And he talks about how, like, if you get married again, are you going to have sex?
She's going to scratch your back.
Yeah, that's what they do in the movies.
Yeah.
I know this happens with single parents, but Tom needs to establish boundaries with this kid.
Yeah, I mean, he struggles with it when
it's out of
the little
control.
girl's coming over.
This kid should not know that much about fucking.
Right?
Yeah, at 8.
He's so small.
And I think he knows it because of Tom.
Because he's
Well,
the
Tom is
bachelor.
then later on in the movie is like, I'm trying to go to Holiday Inn so I can have sex with this woman.
Yeah.
Like, he's just blatantly
Yeah, it's
saying
like, Tom,
at a certain
Tommy.
point. Tommy,
Remember?
calm it down.
So-
Who are we talking to?
Kira, thoughts on this whole stretch of the movie? Everything pretty much before we're introduced to the girlfriend. So this whole basically like almost middle chunk of the movie.
So something that I noticed like recently, like last time I rewatched it like a month ago and then like this time today, I noticed that like even though Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan are obviously not communicating basically the entire movie, there are like really interesting parallels that like I picked up on. Like I don't know if she's like re-listening to his broadcast when she like
Yes,
hides
I
in
caught
the
that.
pantry or whatever, like in the closet. She is like peeling an apple.
Mhm.
And then at one point, Tom Hanks says to his son, like, because he like says that he's like worried that he's gonna forget his mom or something.
Heartbreaking.
He says like she was able to peel an apple with like one, like in one, whatever he says. I don't know. Just yeah.
in one long
and then
strip,
how-
basically.
Yeah. And there's another one too. I mean, like the repetition of like the word magic or like made for each other. Like I like that like, they have them connected in that way.
They say the same phrases when he's on the radio show.
Yeah.
I like at the same time.
Yeah, they're both like,
Yeah.
give me a break or whatever
Yeah.
the fuck.
The forgetting the mom bit like killed me. That was
It's tough.
that was so heartbreaking.
It's really
And
tough.
I think it's great that this movie manages to balance the drama with the comedy so well, because it's not, I wouldn't call this movie a drama.
No,
It's very much just a rom-com, but it has, again, this sadness to it. And yeah, these moments you're mentioning are dramatic moments. Like they inject a lot of like real emotion into the story. And I mean, Hanks is Hanks. I mean, he's an Academy Award winner. Actually, no, not an Academy Award winner at this point, because this came out the same year as Philadelphia, right?
yeah,
he's about to be.
He's nominated for a Golden Globe because of this performance. An award that we don't acknowledge here on this podcast. I will say, because I was going to ask you guys, do you have a favorite like friend sequence that they interact with? Because there's a lot of like, we're meeting up with like the friend groups of each of them. This is when you really get to see all the various character
I think
actors
Rosie
and everything that's in
O'Donnell,
here.
honestly.
The Rosie O'Donnell
Yeah,
scene where they're crying and
Yeah.
watching.
Rosie
Affair
O'Donnell's
together.
another woman who just got insanely maligned,
Mhm.
you know, as the years went on in the 2000s. She was so fucking good in this. She's so good in A League of Their Own. She grounds this movie in a really important way because she's won over by this idea, you know, at a certain point. And she also, I don't know, just one of the probably like the best voices ever, right?
Yeah.
She needs to do more voice work.
So
That said, hold on though. That said, Rob Reiner.
That's
Yeah.
the tiramisu. Some woman's gonna want me to do it to her, and I won't know what it is.
eating the what are the
Come and look at my
oysters?
swatches.
Sleepless in Seattle in 2024, Rob Reiner's like, you gotta have a bussy now. She's gonna want to peg you.
What is it?
I want Rob Reiner to explain sexual politics to me throughout the years.
Don't
That'd be
worry,
great.
you're gonna love it. So go ahead.
I love the scene, like, based on like the Friends scenes. I love the scene when Rita Wilson is just like weeping at the kitchen table talking about a movie. And they're all like, is she okay?
Yeah,
It's talking about an affair to remember, and then the boys start crying about what's the fucking the Jim Brown movie?
It's like
The war movie, Dirty Dozen.
Dirty Dozen.
Because it's just like I cried during the Dirty Dozen when Jim Brown throws that grenade in there when he's still inside.
Yeah, that's fun.
Which apparently was a completely improvised scene between
Really?
our two boys. Just like
that's fun.
Oh, you can 100% tell because it's so insanely misplaced in the movie.
Yeah, it's like
but it's just like hey, boys can get emotional.
Well, just to go
okay?
like that goofy, like at that, at a sort of critical point, you could tell like that was like we're having fun on set today. And it works great because they are having fun on set that day.
So Hanks decides to go on the date with Cindy is the character's
Victoria.
name? Oh, sorry. Jeez.
Not even close.
The scene right before is like this moment when they're both Hanks and Meg are sitting like looking longingly into the distance. It's almost like they're looking at each other from across the country all the way. It's a good scene.
Cool.
And I think that I struggle a little bit with this. It didn't really bother me that much, but
correct me on the timeline. Is this immediately follow like Meg Ryan hired private detective and is like looking through like a mountain of photographs and is like, he's with another woman.
So this is what I wanted to bring up. So I struggle a little bit with this. It doesn't break the movie, but on one hand, you have Hanks nervous about his date and feeling a little. I mean, how else are you going to feel when you're a widow? You might feel a little guilty that you're starting to move on from your spouse who has passed away, right? You want to be excited. You want to be hopeful that you're putting yourself out there, but at the same time, you probably can't stop thinking about her and it's making you sad.
Well, he's honestly going like, my son is going through a psychological crisis right now. I need to give him some kind of mother figure, like ASAP.
Exactly.
Because bro is like calling Dr. Marsha Fieldstone about
and he's like, wait, no, this lady said she liked the same third baseman as you. You have to go be with her now.
And then on the other hand, Meg Ryan is like investigating this man and like trying to find out everything about him, like where he lives.
Well, that's
where he shops.
That's what's really interesting to me about the movie is it's like at the exact same time it's about fate, but also like the exact opposite of fate, like creating your own fate. Because like she might think it's fate that like she heard him on the radio, but then she like makes fate happen.
It's just in that scene, it's a little silly because you're cutting between these two shots of them and the music is kicking in and it's like the movie wants you to feel like, oh my God, it's the moment in the movie where our main characters are starting to fall in love. It's like that moment. It's like the midpoint of the movie where it's like, wow, these crazy kids, they might just make it. But one of them doesn't know the other one exists and is going to go on a date with someone else. And the other one is like stalking the other one.
Yeah, but she has a bad laugh.
Yeah.
Did you?
Well, we haven't found that out yet.
Genuinely, the only reason that she doesn't end up with Bill Pullman is because then it would be too similar to When Harry Met Sally.
Right.
Otherwise they would absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm curious what you think about all that, Kyra. Just this whole kind of crux of the midpoint of the movie right before we kick into Hanks seeing this other lady, where it's just this buildup that feels like it could be, like it would be uneven, but really isn't.
Yeah. I definitely agree. Like, it does feel like the movie's very good at manipulating you into thinking that they know each other or just like emotionally feeling like they know each other. Because I feel like honestly, like I never analyzed that or thought too much into that scene, and now thinking back I'm like, oh yeah, that's true. Like I feel like I've never like zoomed out on the actual ethics and not ethics, but like I mean yeah, ethics for stalking him, but like the structure and stuff of it, like um it is pretty genius, I would say.
Yeah.
I don't want. Yeah, that's the thing about
It's
this movie.
incredibly effective.
I don't want to like full like cinema sins this movie because like it is like the structure of it works, and if you're just like casually watching it, you don't think of it as psychotic behavior that it is.
It's I think to me, I think a lot of that is due to Meg Ryan's performance. I think
I'm telling you guys,
she's kind of
man,
the MVP of this whole thing.
She was on fucking fire
because
in the 90s.
Just the pitch of like, we're going to have a rom-com where our two main characters do not meet until the very end. That's already like, what the fuck? What are you talking about? That's insane. Who would make that movie? And then to make the movie and have it be with these two incredibly charismatic people that you want them to be together. You've seen them together in Joe versus the Volcano because we all saw Joe versus the Volcano.
Yeah, at this point, like
America
millions of people had seen Joe
had
versus
jumped
the
into the volcano. And you don't feel cheated. Like I never felt like I was being robbed of anything in this movie. I was on board with the flow of what I expect a story like this to play out. You have the meet cute, the radio scene at the beginning. They don't meet, but it's the meet cute.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have the buildup. You have now this moment where like they're kind of starting to fall in love. But again, she is just fully stalking him. You have these beats, these familiar touch points in the structure of the story, and they're done in a way that like probably can only, I don't think there's any other movie like this that can do it in this way.
No, well, and you were right here that a lot of it, like there are so many like parallels in their situations, and even like cross-cutting, you know, between the two of them directly, where it's like it's as if they're interacting even though they're not. But like the majority of this falls on Meg Ryan because Tom Hanks's character is not thinking about her in any of those scenes or moments. She has to portray the fact that she is actively thinking about a guy and falling in love with a guy.
And the balance of not overdoing it, because she could easily just be like she's in a David Fincher movie, like going full serial killer mode, right?
I know.
Some of these scenes where she's on the computer searching for his information.
And that's obviously, if you are to critique the movie, it is like, no matter what, it's fucking nuts what she's doing.
But when you're sitting there watching it, you're not thinking like this person is psychotic. You're thinking like, I love watching Meg Ryan on my screen.
Yeah.
This is great.
Listen, guys, let's get on board. Let's do a fucking Meg Ryan series. We already talked about City of Angels.
Yeah. The problem is, are we running out of Meg Ryan now at this point?
She just came out with a new one.
She's just so good because also the fact that she is emoted so much over the course of the movie, and yet she has to have another level for the end when she actually meets him. The way she looks at him, like when they're getting in the elevator, I've never seen someone so accurately portray the way that you look at someone when you're in love with them. I've never ever seen an actor do that so good. She's out of her mind good in the 90s. So that said, Hanks doesn't, you know, we don't need to shit on Hanks in order to loud her. Like Hanks is doing a lot in this movie. He's doing a lot of interacting with a boy.
Yeah.
The boy's good.
And again, the balance, I think, applies to his performance as well, where you're never thinking like, come on, dude, cheer the fuck up. You know, he is a very sad character and he carries that really well, you know, the weight of that. But you're never thinking like, all right, buddy, let's pick up the mood a little bit. You're on board with it. Thoughts on that, Kyra?
Yeah, something that I was thinking about regarding his like mood and his character and like how his like depression specifically is portrayed is that I find that like, especially like with movies that we cover on Z Canon, it's like my least favorite trope in like movies is like your mom died 6 weeks ago, you gotta get over it, or like your wife died 6 months ago, like you gotta get back out there and start dating. Like a lot of that struggle comes from his son being depressed and not knowing how to process it, and his son being concerned about his dad's depression. It's not necessarily like, oh, you got to get out there and start dating again. It's just like this yearning that like, and like trying to cope with it. It's not like, I got to go get another girlfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also
Just shout out to the
yeah.
emotional intelligence of this child. I'm just like,
it's also coming after like the step of him trying to move on actually by dating is coming well after like big changes he's made in his life to try to move on. You know, he changed careers and he moved cities like across the whole country. Do we know how much time has passed?
that's what I was gonna ask. Is when does wife die? It's like fall of the year prior.
It said there's a title card. It says 5 months later.
Okay.
I think that's pretty early on in the
Okay,
movie.
5 months. You're milking it. Okay, Tom. Get the fuck over it. Okay.
You hear that, Gaia?
Got it.
You're on thin ice.
Guy's got 90 days. She knows that.
It's in
Love you,
your
babe.
will.
Just kidding. Yeah, it's 90 days. You have to get back out
You have to
there.
get laid or else minimum. Maybe we can say this for the categories, but I am curious, like
Fellas,
WYD.
WYD, your wife dead. I would simply kill myself because no other woman's worthy of my life.
right.
Oh,
Yeah.
So
I'd go right on the radio.
just
You're calling in
trauma dumping.
You're calling into like WUCF. Like, who will talk to
Yeah,
me?
and I'm playing both. I don't have a kid, so I'm playing the kid. I'm like, my daddy is a good guy, and he needs a wife.
You're like, shut up, and you like hit a belt against a wall.
I told you to stop fucking calling the radio station.
Anyway, yeah, I really loved her.
The next section of the movie is him going on more dates. You know, they have dinner, then she cooks him dinner, and I think this is anchored really well with every time it cuts back to Meg Ryan. She's like increasingly growing more and more obsessed with Sam, where she has to hide in the closet to listen.
It's about Bill
to the
Pullman's
radio
being
show.
like even nicer about things. He's like peekaboo as she's like hiding in the closet with a radio, like just like not suspicious about anything about what you're doing in here.
And then here I clocked it 1 hour and 5 minutes, 1 hour and 6 minutes is when he sees her in the airport for the first time.
Nice. It's like nice.
And it's just a glance. That's it. And that's kind of like a mini little lightning moment in the movie where it's like, oh, there we go. That's the actual first time they've laid eyes on each other. And she obviously doesn't recognize him because she only knows his voice. She doesn't know what he looks like yet, even though she did hire a private detective. When did she get those pictures? Does she?
Well, no, she already has the pictures.
She's
I don't
fucking
know.
seen him.
Have you guys ever gotten off of an airport before, like out of an airplane? I'm trying to like get out as quickly as possible.
So she
I don't
does know
blame
what he
her.
looks like at that.
Yeah, I don't blame her for just
Okay.
like not expecting to see him. Like, oh, he's probably also at the Seattle airport right now. She's like ready to go to his house and look for him.
Wait, has she seen him yet? Are you, Kyra? Do you know? Now I'm wondering.
Yeah, she got the pictures,
Okay.
but she hasn't seen him in real life yet. She hasn't like sleuthed on him as kid kayaking.
So that's why she's in Seattle, right?
Yeah.
To go like watch him
To
from
ogle,
afar.
yeah, to ogle, ogle at him and his boy.
having a good time.
What was her end goal there?
I think she wanted to talk to him, but she
But then
just
she
thought
sees
like,
him with
what
Rita
would I
Wilson and-
say? You know, like, hey, I am obsessed with you.
Oh, one note that I definitely never caught until this time watching it is that Rosie O'Donnell is Meg Ryan's boss
Oh, yeah. I
there.
didn't even catch
And
that.
she just like, because it's funny, like they're like, she's like, oh, I'm doing a feature on radio call-in shows, and she's like, yeah, you should probably go fly there, do some research. Like, it was great, like great little mini scene right before she flies across country. It's like, yeah, let me put that on the company card.
And then 5 minutes later, they do actually, I guess, interact from across the street. That's technically their first meeting when he sees her watching. And then I guess he recognizes her from the airport. She made such a striking impression on him. It's like, hey, that's you.
And across the damned road.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
The moment he's looking at her from across the road. So basically this whole last stretch of the movie before the Empire State Building. Any thoughts on that? Any thoughts on like
a lot of scheming with Gabby?
Yeah, scheming with Gabby, and then essentially the demise of the relationship with Bill Pullman, leaving our guy hanging.
Poor boy.
Bless his heart,
sad.
man.
It's sad because it's also there's like a bit of a bump of like things going well, where she's like, oh no, this is good. I like this. It's not like she's like totally icing him out.
Right. Well, because she starts to realize, going to Seattle and like physically.
And that was like an insane person thing to do.
It's like, what the fuck am I doing?
Well, yeah. When she thinks that he's with his sister.
Yeah.
Rita Wilson.
Which real life wife of Tom Hanks.
Right.
If you thought that they had chemistry, that brother and sister.
Yeah. Patients X and Y of COVID.
Right.
There you go.
Yes. Thanks a lot.
And
Happy
Chet
Elvis.
was patient Z.
Chet was the
Did you know that he actually never had an accent before he got COVID?
Oh, they've been saying this. Yeah.
People are saying
it gives you patois. All right. Any thoughts on this last chunk of the movie before we get to the Empire State? Because I think we gotta just talk about the ending.
So yeah, it's getting into the ending. I will say I know that her laugh is bad, but was Victoria all that bad?
She was fine.
Yeah.
She was cooking him dinner.
She was just
where's the spark?
Yeah, she is literally just like sitting there waiting at the Holiday Inn for him to show up. And just like, I bet he didn't even give her a phone call. He just fucking left her there.
I mean, go ahead.
Sorry. My favorite line in the whole movie, I think, is when she was making dinner for them. And Jonah's like, thanks. I never had potatoes prepared that way.
So good. Fucking Jonah. Jonah kills it.
Her so
yeah, he's a fucking savage.
There are so many shots. There's like one shot in particular where the camera just holds on him with Hanks and Victoria just interacting in the background, and it's like they're having a lovely time.
The
and
disdain.
He's seething.
I've never seen like disdain on a child's face
cannot
before.
stand
in the movie,
it.
But like,
I bet she doesn't know shit about the Orioles' third baseman.
It's so fucking funny. I love that. I love the actual scene, the blow up scene between Hanks and Jonah, where he's just like, didn't you see Fatal Attraction? That whole like little argument with each other.
He's like,
great.
Jonah, you're cooking me.
Yeah.
I did think, like, is the son, does he have some kind of power that is allowing him to watch the movie we're watching? Because based on his knowledge within the bounds of the movie and like the letters that he has, there's not really much to go off of to know that. Like,
I feel like that's like borderline like a Shakespearean device, is like the children who sort of know all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
know?
because the thing is, like, when I'm 8 years old, I wouldn't know where to fucking begin for like, I want to get to New York. I don't know. Do I call a taxi to get me there? Like I would not know
Also,
the first thing to
mean,
do. And that's why you have like the magical Jessica character be there and be like, don't worry, I do this all the time.
I mean more so just knowing that he shouldn't be with Victoria.
Yeah.
He should be with Meg Ryan.
He's the one who's like, go to her.
Yeah.
Like he's that. No, yeah. That, I mean, him and then Gabby Hoffman sort of gives him the vocabulary to understand why. Like them together. I guess that answers my question from earlier, why it becomes a two-hander, because like they together their like little baby brains like make a very wise person who understands that this is necessary. This must happen.
Yeah. I mean, they're matchmakers. You got to have them.
Like, yeah, whatever she read out of like, 17 magazine or whatever that taught her about like fate.
So she leaves Bill Pullman Poor guy. Innocent. He did nothing wrong. All he did was he had a humidifier going by the bedside table. And he had to take some vitamins.
Don't we all? Okay? Don't we all have to have a humidifier in the bedroom?
I'm sorry that, I'm not fucking you over the kitchen counter. I'm sorry, I gotta do my stretches before bed or else my neck will hurt.
I know Bill Pullman has a slip disc in this movie. I don't mean to trigger you, but I just know it.
And he has to take medication for it. And it makes him a little drowsy. Sorry.
You like refuse to let Lee watch this movie. You're just like, Lee's gonna realize what she's missing. I can't ever see this.
So she's like, I gotta fuck off. I gotta leave you here. Sorry. Here's your giant fucking ring. I gotta go to the Empire State Building that has a giant heart on it.
And our
Valentine's
angel, Bill Pullman's like, go.
Yeah.
Go find him.
He's like, okay. I'm just me.
Which, I mean, maybe a little bit too complacent there. All right. Fight for your lady a little bit.
I really wanted him to be at least a little bit upset. What do you think, Kyra?
I mean, it's the kind of thing where he could probably tell that she was like drifting away for a while. I think it's definitely a very realistically, they would probably be like fighting or whatever. But I think it's a very like mature way to go about like a couple splitting up in a movie, because they just kind of like come to the conclusion like, oh yeah, we want different things. And it's not even just her like being in love with someone else. It's like her being like, I feel like I have to pursue this. Like, yeah. It's like similar to like Tom Hanks's wife dying. It's not like I'm in love with someone else. It's like, if I don't try this, like, why do I want this? Why do I want this like outside of my relationship or whatever? I think that that's a really interesting and like emotionally complex way to go about like the main couple breaking up in a rom-com.
Do you think that there's a parallel version of this movie? Because our boy Bill Pullman's doing some traveling around. He has his own Tom Hanks. Like, he has his own little lady that he was singing with. He's like, baby, you want to break up? Oh, gee, that sucks.
He listened to that same broadcast and he fell in love with Dr. Marsha Fieldstone and he's smashing.
No, he fell in love with what was it, like Down Bad in Denver? Or what was the other recording of a woman?
They did not have that phrase.
It was like Depressed in Denver or some shit.
What that was, by the way, really funny.
The like highlights of
what it was like he always like wants a sandwich after sex, and she's like, maybe you should make it before.
Have it ready. Like, that's so. She is not a medical professional. She got a degree in radio television.
Yeah. Also, IMDb trivia: the lady talking in that little snippet about the sandwich, after sex, that is Nora.
Oh, that is Nora. I was just about to look up who that is. It's Disappointed in Denver. Unfortunately, it's not Down Bad in Denver.
I would listen to Down Bad. And you know what this made me think of is like this was like Reddit threads in the 90s. Like
r/relationship _ advice.
There's a kid just playing like Temple Run while just like listening to people like vent about their dead wives.
It's true though. Like that. Like if
this was their way to
they didn't have universal health care,
right?
People need a therapist.
Yeah. That's why they're like listening to it at the diner when she picks up her coffee or donuts or whatever she's picking up.
I love that.
They're all like tapped in, like, what's the next update?
Yeah, they're keyed into that shit.
And that's why Hank's like, he's like, oh, this is fun when he like sits down to really get into it, because they couldn't go and type in like, am I the asshole for missing my dead wife?
Yeah, it's the anonymity of like something like whenever Shrinks and that whole psychiatrist was still like so stigmatized at that time.
And you should get your therapy from Reddit.
Yeah. And that's why this episode is brought to you by BetterHelp, r/BetterHelp on Reddit. Don't actually use BetterHelp. Just go to the Reddit thread.
r/downbad in Denver.
No, that's my user account.
That's an NSFW thread. Okay. So what did we think of the big Empire
Well,
State
so
Building finale.
before they get there, I also wanted to say like it's a really tight needle they have to thread with, and I think part of the reason that Bill Pullman is almost accepting of it is because you were right here that like IRL, or maybe you said it, like they would sort of be like fighting leading up to this, but they can't be, because then we would like her less, and we have to really be on board with liking her in order for the end to still pay off.
I definitely think a lesser director would give Pullman the affair. That's such an easy bone to throw.
That's so true. It lets her completely off the hook.
Yeah, like they're just fighting because we know that.
Yeah, or just have him be an asshole in any way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, right. Just have him be like a bad
give
guy.
him one one unlikable quality.
Yeah, but it becomes more complicated because he's not a bad guy.
Yeah.
So she has to do something unlikable, but she still has to be likable enough that we're happy at the end.
Yeah, it's like,
so
dude, you can't be, your name can't be Walter, and you have Kleenex by the bedside.
Yeah.
Like, you got to pick one.
He can't have,
Our boy. Just listen, my guy has allergies, okay? Don't we all? Let him off the hook.
So it's a really tight needle past that point. And that's why I sort of like the understated play of him just being like, yeah, I get it.
That'll be okay.
I'm just me.
I'll be alone forever. With my sinus.
No. But I mean, the thing is, like,
I'm going to start gooning.
Do you think, does Walter invent gooning in the early 90s?
No. So once she finally goes to the Empire State Building, we're like, all right, Walter's clearly fucking fine. We still feel bad for him.
He jumps off the roof.
Or he's
you
made
just like
peace
see him
with
across
his
the way,
god.
like, oh my god! He dies to his death.
The boys up there. So Tom Hanks is obviously off the hook for all of this because like his son is the only one that's not off the hook. The only reason that his son ends up off the hook is because he's right.
Yeah.
Seemingly like they should be together. His son is the one that's doing all the shitty work at this point, because even Meg Ryan had tried to give up on this. She tried to give her sensible life a chance, and it just didn't work. So now when they're up there, first of all, the kid's up there. No one is giving a fuck that this loose kid is just chilling on the Empire State Building.
The 90s were a different time, okay? Like, kids could just be out and about, and
he's
was like,
up there for so
yeah, it's
long.
like hours. No one cares. No one even asks him, like, hey.
A little white child is going to go unnoticed.
It's crazy. He's there until close of business.
Yeah, they would have left him up there, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, the 500-year-old man like working the elevator, he's not going to check. He doesn't give a fuck.
That's another ghost talking to me, beckoning me to
I meant to Google, like, is that like Cary Grant or something?
That's 100% not Cary Grant.
I know, but is it like some guy in the old movie? Because that guy's like 1 billion years old. But anyway,
no, we get to have Chekhov's backpack. You see him just cradling onto that thing in the airplane. And it's like, Bay's gonna leave that. He's gonna leave that backpack at an important point in the movie, and then he does. And we get the moment of them together.
That is
converging.
Such a good moment.
Mm-hmm. Magical.
Goosebumps. That is what movies are all about. It's like, it kind of feels almost like a jump cut a little bit, where suddenly Hanks and the kid are back in the frame, because you thought that they were gone, and it's like, oh no, they're back. And it kind of comes out of nowhere. I feel like, again, just to kind of give Ephron more props, another director would have queued you up a little bit for that, kind of built up a little bit, make the music kick in, and then give you this like beautiful release. And it's like, nope, boom, here we go. They're looking at each other. They're together. The fact that it kind of takes you by surprise is incredibly
she
effective.
directed the fuck out of this movie.
It gave me like goosebumps. It kind of like took my breath away a little bit, where it's just like, oh, here we go. This is it. This is everything the movie has been building up to right here. What do you think, Kyra? What do you think of this whole sequence?
There's a point like right before Jonah and Tom Hanks like leave the Empire State Building where like he like takes him by the shoulders and he's like, "We're doing all right. Like I'm doing all right. Like we don't need this." That part like makes me cry for some reason. Just him like trying to like convince himself that like he's doing a good job with his son, like
It's really
because
tough.
Yeah,
yeah,
because he just had to sit on. He just sat on a whole flight thinking like, "Am I such a bad dad that my kid would do this
My kid's
amount
gonna
of shit
flee
to try to
the
get
other side of
me?"
the country.
He's so concerned about me not having a good GF that he's doing
Yeah.
all this. I must suck. Yeah, he's in like a crisis.
But yeah, I think it's also like the fact, like, I don't know, like I feel like the cut to like the end song is also like very jarring when they're like leaving the Empire State Building. And I always kind of loved that because that felt like an old like musical or just like, I mean, Nora Ephron wanted it to feel like an old movie, clearly. And then there's the moment when like their hands touch also, like before
Oh.
they walk into the elevator. And
So good.
it kind of like, yeah, it like calls back to like, I think it was her mom in the beginning. That was like the first time I held his hand. Like I didn't know like where mine ended and his started or whatever. And
Well, I think it calls
Yeah.
back. I think Sam talked about when he met his late wife. I think it's also a callback to that, if I remember correctly. Because that made me tear up. I started crying when it was that, because it was just a beautiful. It was kind of a payoff to the movie recurring thing with like everyone talking about the magic of the relationship in the movie, and it's the same feeling that he said he got from being in love with his late wife.
I love my late wife.
Beautiful ending. Love it.
Bang.
Didn't love the little CGI
You didn't love that?
bit at the end,
No?
but that's fine.
Okay. You don't
Okay.
love vectors?
Shall we get to the categories?
Yeah.
Okay. First category is the Run P category. For which scene?
Sponsored by
Run P, the app. Thank you, Run P, sponsoring this episode. Check out Run P to see when you should go pee during Dune Part 2. Spoilers, you don't.
Yeah, you just
You wear-
let yourself right there.
You wear a still suit
Yeah.
and you pee in the still suit. Okay.
I made the mistake of going to go pee and also narc on somebody vaping in front of my face. And I came back and Sean was like, "Oh, you missed like Austin Butler's introduction." And I was like,
Oh man, that sucks.
I just
But
came
also,
back and it's
fuck
just
that
in
guy
black
for
and white.
vaping in
He's
the
just
theater.
like beating people. Yeah, yeah. I felt like I'm not like bad, but I'm just like, Jesus Christ. Like
Was it nicotine or weed? Could you tell?
so they came in smelling like weed, but they were vaping just pure just strawberry. And like it was just
Papa
going into my
Zen.
face.
You know what I mean? If there's
Right.
anywhere to pop a fucking Zen.
It's Doom.
Anyway, this category is sponsored by Run P.
Where would you pee?
When it does matter when you empty your bladder. Run P. I'm gonna send this guy a bunch of slogans.
You should, yeah.
I feel like
It's somewhere in that middle section.
before he meets Victoria.
Yeah, it's got to be in there. Like whenever they're, I don't want to lose Rob Reiner. I don't want to lose David Hyde Pierce when she walks in there and be like, "Love, is there really such a thing as magic?" And David Hyde Pierce is like, "Actually, magic doesn't exist. It's just our synapses firing." And
Also,
I don't want to miss that.
That's also very his supposed relationship with his wife is very Frasier.
Yeah.
Because in Frasier, he is just like absolutely whipped in like a bad way. So that's fun.
This is kind of late in the movie, but somewhere in this stretch of her, the bit where you were talking about how it was improvised, how they were talking about the Dirty Dozen,
Right
like
after,
somewhere,
right after they see each other, they lock eyes and like just say hello.
yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
I mean it's hard because you can't lose much plot, and there's a lot of plot in this movie for a rom-com. Most rom-coms don't have, you know what I mean? So it's tough to pee. Maybe let that pee run down your leg. Run pee.
You might be able to go just whenever she's first hiring the private detective and all that stuff. Because like there's enough other
It's kind of the midpoint.
You can kind of be like, I get the gist.
Yeah.
She might be crossing some boundaries, but we're not going to worry about it because it's Meg Ryan.
Kyra, any run pee moments to shout out?
So my thing with like trying to determine when to go pee during a movie is like, even if I'm not missing important plot, I'm like, wow, I missed that like eye contact that like Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks had. So I think just hold it. Honestly, just hold it. I can't.
It's not that long of a movie. You'll be fine.
No, yeah.
Maybe you miss the CGI end credits. It's a little drawn out.
That does not count as run pee.
Yeah. Oh, you know where you should
You leave early.
You should pee after the movie. That's when you should.
No, I'm saying you miss the last like 30 seconds of the movie. You get out early, you beat the crowd.
Run pee. When you're on a movie date, but you have an enlarged prostate. Run pee.
Next category is the Tom swap. Could the other Tom
no way.
this role?
This guy?
Could Cruise?
This guy right here do
No,
play Hank.
Cruise could play Meg Ryan because she's on a fucking mission.
Yeah.
You have to
so
give
intense.
objectives to Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Okay. So like Tom Cruise would actually just, if we're inserting Tom Cruise in this movie, could he be the private investigator who's just like stalking Tom Hanks?
I would love to see Hanks with a little boy being sad about his dead wife.
Cruise,
sorry.
Yeah.
I think he would do great. I think that's a good energy for him.
Not in the rom-com setting. Yes, I think if
it's a little more dramatic,
if this was a drama,
yeah.
I actually think yes. Especially maybe 93 is a little bit early for that era, but like late 90s Tom Cruise I think could do it.
I don't know, because he is the reason that he's so good in Jerry Maguire.
He's great with that kid.
Yeah, he's great with the kid, but honestly, Lipnicki deserved an Oscar for that movie. And also, it's because it's really a romance with Cuba Gooding Jr.
Yeah.
You know?
More than...
Like, he doesn't have to pretend that he's into, like, some romantic... You know what I mean?
I'm thinking of it more so if it's, like, about a broken man who's trying to build himself back up. If that's the angle into this. Like, and then... I mean, obviously, it won't be as, like, depressing as something like Born on the 4th of July, but can we channel more of like that dramatic, even like melodrama energy? Rom-com, absolutely not. Tom Cruise cannot.
Some of it I could see just if he's in his Jerry Maguire zone, because
it would have to be a very similar,
because he does some great we're gonna get to Jerry Maguire very soon.
It's coming.
I don't even have I watched it like a month ago just for fun, and then like a month before that just for fun. And he does do some good rom-com stuff in that movie. And I could see him like bickering with a kid in a cool way. You know what I mean? The way he bickers with Cuba.
Yeah.
So him doing like that, I want to fuck, you know?
What do you think, Kyra? Tom swap? No.
I don't know. So there's something very charming about Tom Cruise, and I have talked about it on Z Canon, and I don't want to get too controversial or insensitive, but I could see why he is a compelling leader and why he can recruit people to certain things. Because
he recruited
sometimes
me.
he's just so charming, and he's a movie star. I think he could do anything. I even love him in Rock of Ages. Like,
what are you trying?
I should have pitched you guys Rock of Ages.
Like, what are you avoiding saying right now?
Are you saying that you converted to Scientology? Is that what you're saying right now?
No, I'm saying like he is such a compelling person that I understand why. I don't know. Sorry, that sounds so shitty. Like, but I think he could be a romantic lead. That's all I'm saying. Is that like you can't help but like fall in love with him and like listen to what he's saying, like in any movie. So
also, if he, I would be very curious to see how he would fit into the mold of a Nora Ephron movie.
That would be so fun.
Because if we know that if he is properly directed, the man can soar.
I know. That's the thing is I've learned not to underestimate.
I was going to say, I'm like kind of surprised.
He's been awesome.
You guys are so much more open to the cruise than I was expecting to be coming into this. When we started the series, I was having to wave my cruise flag around as our boy is a capital A actor.
Well, especially in this era, right? Like this mid 90s is like the dude could do anything.
I've watched Jerry Maguire like 5 times in the last year. So I have to admit that he could probably do this to some level. You know what I mean? I think he could.
I think that we would have to rewrite some stuff, but yeah, I would love to see it. Tom,
it'd be interesting. I mean,
the only rom-com he's ever done is Night and Day, right?
I don't even think that counts as a rom-com.
It's because it's like an action rom-com. Like he's still driving a motorcycle.
Jerry
Maguire is closer than that.
Yeah.
Like that was called a rom-com when it dropped, even though, you know, I maintain that it's mostly a romance between him and our boy.
That's the main connection.
Sleepless was a massive hit. I mean, it was like a $200 million gross from a $21 million budget, $22 million box office, $21 million budget. $222 million box office. If Cruise does this movie and it's slightly less effective, I don't know. I mean, it's Cruise in the mid 90s. It could easily get up there.
Well, the thing is that is like, could you imagine that alternate timeline that happens? Because if he is in Sleepless in Seattle
with Meg Ryan
and it fucking hits and this movie makes $200+ million, does Tom Cruise go full like romantic lead path?
Yeah.
Is he take a little bit closer to the Tom Hanks path?
Especially if it's a huge hit.
Pandora's box to open up.
I mean, apparently Ephron wanted Hanks and Meg Ryan from the start, from when she first wrote the script.
Not Meg Ryan. I don't know. I saw this. Meg Ryan was not the first choice. Originally, this role was offered to Julia Roberts, and Julia Roberts declined it.
She could do that. She could do this.
Julia Roberts could absolutely.
Yeah, totally.
Especially in 93 Julia Roberts.
She had a very similar thing.
Another one of whenever we're next up talking about picks of doing, Julia Roberts is like high up there on the list with Denzel and all these other people. But it wasn't even just those two. These other actresses also were offered first and declined, apparently, according to Wikipedia. Kim Basinger, Michelle Pfeiffer, which would be really interesting, Jennifer Jason Leigh.
No.
And Jodie Foster.
No.
Yeah, I'm out on Jodie Foster and Jennifer Jason Leigh. Love Jodie Foster. Nyad's own Jodie
Did you
Foster.
mention Sharon Stone?
No, I didn't even see Sharon Stone.
Sharon Stone, Demi Moore, and Madonna.
So
basically any
so what
late
about
80s, 90s
Tom Cruise and Demi Moore? Can we bring
That's
back?
Not as good.
Can we bring back from
Sharon Stone and Madonna are too like hot. Like
you need the more
Sharon Stone. I would be terrified.
I think
would be scared.
It would it would be like if you put like a pure hunk in the Hanks role instead of Hanks, who's like Mr. Approachable but hot.
I would like to see Tom Cruise and Michelle Pfeiffer.
Sure.
I think that could work.
Okay, Bill
not
Simmons.
as good as Meg Ryan.
Michelle Pfeiffer.
If there's anything we've learned from Bill Simmons is that Michelle Pfeiffer turned down like every single role in the 80s and 90s. She was offered everything
except Batman Returns.
Didn't turn that one down. It is kind of interesting that Meg Ryan wasn't the first. Like Tom Hanks, they like pinpointed immediately, but Meg Ryan wasn't number one because now it's like I can't imagine anybody else in these.
Yeah, apparently she kept having to refine the script until he was happy.
Hanks?
Yeah. I guess until they were both happy.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Bro's demanding.
Right. Okay. So next category is favorite scene. What is your favorite scene?
Radio call. First radio call.
I think so. What do you think, Kyra?
I think definitely that, or I mean, like that or the ending. I don't really know. Like those are just two of my favorite scenes of all movies ever. So
if the first radio call doesn't work, then like the whole movie is pointless.
So
if I could make a proposal, I think that my favorite scene in the movie is the driving home, the radio call scene, and the best moment of the movie is the end.
That's what I was going to say. So the next category is most iconic moment.
Yeah.
I think I would give the ending that iconic moment, and then favorite scene, the driving home, listening to the radio.
I agree with that.
The movie is kind of bookended by those two, like, really, I think, top tier movie making sequences. And there's a lot of things in the middle that I don't know are 100% effective. I don't know if this movie had me like fully all the way invested in the middle there.
I think
I enjoyed it. Like I didn't mind it. Like I liked watching it. But those two scenes at the beginning and the end, like, kind of knocked me out.
Yeah, it's just in between there. There are certain points where I feel like the movie's kind of losing itself tonally a little bit. Like, I don't know. It's like at certain points, it's a little goofier than I thought it would be if we're really trying to ramp things up plot wise. And it's just really hard to be like, okay, I know this is going to pay off in the end, but she's being so fucked up right now.
Yeah.
Well, it is a thing of like, we're watching this movie from like a critical lens because we're talking about a podcast, but like, is this one of those movies where like, is it perfect?
Yeah.
I don't think
it's
so,
like,
but is it rewatchable? Yeah, absolutely.
So when she does it, it's lovable. When I do it to my ex-girlfriend, I get arrested. Okay. Okay, Biden.
Oh, restraining orders. Oh.
25 to life. Oh. Next category is fellas WYD. What would you do?
I already said, if my wife dies, I'm killing myself. Love you, babe.
So if you're Hanks and you're dealing with a dead wife.
I wouldn't be, having never met her, I wouldn't be able to ever get over the fact that she had been so nuts and like stalked me and my child.
Oh, so we're talking about we do meet Meg Ryan.
It's the end of the movie.
The
We still don't know her at all.
But when your hands touch, it's magic, Drew. It's magic.
Is she ready to be
what's
a mom?
What's your experience with like crazy exes? Like, have you ever been with a crazy person? Because then that might shape your opinion.
Yeah, you know what? It might.
How long was he married?
If you've been scorned in the past by like, I don't know, like exes who like might be a little bit controlling or might be like a little bit
how long?
insane.
So
male or female, either way.
So the kid is what, like 10, 11? How old is
8.
This kid?
He's 8 years old.
He's 8. So he was with her for at least 8 years. It's 8 years of not really trying to get out there. First chance is Victoria.
I think he says it's like Truman was whenever he went. He last went dating.
President Truman.
Yeah, President Truman is the last time he went dating.
That's a really good joke.
Yeah, he's just like, what was that thing? Truman, 1958. So like something like that. It's really fun.
That's crazy. Because doesn't he have a kid named Truman?
What?
I think he has a kid named Truman.
His kid's name is Jonah.
Tom Hanks in real life.
Oh,
has
in
a kid
real
named
life
Truman.
is
Yeah.
I don't know. President.
No,
is that like Chet Jr.?
I'm just
like,
right. I think he's shouting out a kid there.
To be honest with you, knowing myself, I would probably just stick with Victoria and just cut my losses.
Ouch.
Just be like, I'll deal with the laugh.
I can't deal with the laugh. I don't know.
What about if you're Meg Ryan and you're really falling for this radio guy? How far do you go?
I don't know. I've had parasocial relationships before. I've never found them. You know what I mean?
I've done like a little bit of light stalking, but I always keep like a healthy distance so that they can't see me.
This would be like if we went and tracked down like Scoot McNairy.
I think it's just like peeping onto someone's Instagram. This is like the equivalent of just like going really far down the Instagram.
No, this is literally like people listening to a podcast. I listen to We Bought a Mic every week, and I feel like I'm like one of the 3 boys.
But then you go farther.
Yeah.
You like look them up.
She's dead ass Ingrid Goes Westing her.
Yes.
Yes.
That's exactly it. What would you do, Kyra?
Yeah. I mean, like, I would never want a remake of this movie, but I think it would work in this date and time, like this world that we're in because of podcasts and because of social media. Um, well, maybe not, because then she'll like know what he looks like and stuff. But I mean, I could definitely not to be like a crazy person, but I could definitely see myself being a Meg Ryan type because I mean, like maybe this is too meta, but like because I grew up watching these movies,
Yeah.
like I always had this like mastermind like mindset when it comes to like love and like fate and stuff. And yeah, I mean, but I don't want to like put myself in the mindset of Tom Hanks's character. But like the Meg Ryan thing, like it is
You get
really
it.
insane, but I
Yeah.
get it.
I mean,
do
you
get it,
stalked
yeah.
Sean for like what, like 3-4 years?
I was
before
about
you
to
ever
say,
approached
yeah,
him?
you hear one guy do a podcast about seltzer and you're like, I need to
give me that.
pursue
Exactly.
everything.
Exactly.
And
Yeah,
how is your
no.
stepson doing?
He's great.
Is it that yellow guy right behind you on the shelf?
Yeah.
Oh, there's our boy.
We also have a minion
Oh my
behind
God.
us
We've got a
too.
boy of our own.
Yeah, our son, baby
Nice.
Jonah.
You know,
Nice.
papaya.
Okay, next category. Out of 5, we're rating the Hanksiness, the Hanksiness.
Not quality of Hanks, but Hanksiness.
I think so far, what is this? The 5th Hanks? I have to check the count. So far, what we've settled on is it's mostly Riz with a little bit of like unpredictable
I think
wackiness.
I think it's just like everyman lovable effortlessly.
Yeah.
And
there's a softness to it.
yeah, and a little goofy. And I think I would give this 4 because he has to be so likable that the whole movie hinges around how likable he is. But also, the reason it's not 5 is because he is kind of curmudgeonly. He's a little bit like, he's turned off toward the idea of.
I would go very light 4. I might even go like
3.5.
Yeah, like 3.5, especially because like Meg Ryan is just, she really is everything I care about in this movie.
Meg Ryan is the MVP of this.
I feel for the Hanks character a lot, and I love the scenes between him and his kid. But when I'm thinking about this movie, how it's sitting in my head, I'm thinking more about the Meg Ryan character and the 2 scenes that we've mentioned that are the standouts. You know, that's kind of all that's sitting in my
She's
brain.
the best rom-com actor of all time.
Agree?
Yeah. Yep.
I think I like her more
agree
in
with
When
that.
Harry Met Sally. That's a 5-star
I
masterpiece.
think I do like When Harry Met Sally, her more. And When Harry Met Sally is like probably my favorite rom-com without thinking about it too hard. I think I like When You Got Mail as a movie more than Sleepless in Seattle, but I think I might like her in Sleepless in Seattle more than her in You Got Mail. You Got Mail is, I mean, you see both of them interacting more, which is nice. Excited to talk about that.
What about you, Kieran? Out of 5, the Hanksiness.
I think I would go with like a 4 because I mean, when I think of Tom Hanks, I feel like one specific thing that I think of is like him in Castaway. I think it was in Castaway when he's just like, hey, like that's what I think of Tom Hanks as.
That's good.
And he doesn't do that in this movie, so
It's a goofy uncle quality. Like we are going to
Yes.
start getting into that like uncle range.
God, Castaway, that one's gonna be so good. I'm looking forward to that.
That might be the first 5.
I know.
Of Hanksiness. You're so right.
Just think about how what you just said, like just clicked that entire movie into my head. Because that's just all him. That's just all Hanks
it's
all the time.
predicated just on Tom Hanks just
Amazing.
beat Tom Hanks.
Okay, final category. Recaging and re-Robin Couch. Where are Nicolas Cage and Robin Williams?
Robin Williams is Rob Reiner.
Perfect.
That's an easy
Cage is Bill Pullman.
No, he's not.
Moonstruck, Nicolas Cage.
I lost my hand. I lost my bride.
I don't know. Where's Cage at? I mean, we've seen we've seen him alongside Meg Ryan to know that there's he's not bringing a lot of chemistry to the table.
Listen,
How awful would this movie be if Robin was in the Hanks role?
If Robin,
this movie would fall apart. He would not. Like, all the shit we saw in that series of him like trying to do stuff like this, it was poor.
He'd call into the radio show and then make America fall in love with him by doing like impressions, doing like Good Morning Vietnam.
Yeah. I don't know where to put Cage in this movie.
No. Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Cage could probably be one of the goofy relatives in that first.
Yeah, but they're all like buttoned up like wasps. He's not that. I think this might be the first
bees. I'm allergic to bees.
What if he's like one of
bees? Oh!
What if he's like one of the doormen at the Empire State Building?
We can't just throw down. Be like, hey, what if we just put Nicolas Cage just in the background as an actor with those speaking parts?
What if he's the guy who's like, here's your change, sir?
What if Nicolas Cage was Victoria? What if it's just like Tom's like, it's a progressive movie. And Tom's just like, I'm just trying to feel around, explore myself and see what I'm into. And he goes on a date with Nick Cage.
Here's a good one. The coworkers at Meg Ryan's job.
Yes. Okay. That's a perfect spot where it's easier to be killed by a terrorist than find love over the age of 40.
Just that's you slot him in there.
He does not fit into this fucking. There's not even if I didn't know who he was, you'd be clocking him. Why is that guy in here?
I mean, the thing is that he'd have to go He'd have to go closer to Moonstruck Cage than
he's insane in Moonstruck.
I guess that's true.
I don't know.
What do you think, Kyra?
I would put Robin Williams as Victoria, and rather than having an annoying laugh, it's just that he can't stop doing bits.
Yeah.
That's why everyone gets annoyed.
He's Mrs. Doubtfire.
The number of times I've been that person on a date. Yeah.
Or maybe he's the Bill Pullman character, and instead of allergies, he has bits.
Yeah. It's like, oh, now I'm an elephant. Ooh. She's like, I'm trying to go to sleep.
You're too hairy.
Please stop.
I want Nicolas Cage as Tom Hanks just because I yearn for him as a romantic lead in that era again.
I know. Yeah, I know you're the Moonstruck head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could Cage do it? I think Cage could do it. I think Cage could do it.
Have you seen City of Angels?
No, I haven't.
Kira,
that's not Nicolas Cage's fault. No, I'm taking that out of that movie. That movie sucks so hard. The one thing that movie gave us is the song Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls, and then that's it.
Don't want the world.
Otherwise, that movie it's a music video of a movie. It's not real.
It did teach my wife how to love, though. And we wouldn't be together till this day if it wasn't for City of Angels.
Yeah.
You should watch City of Angels just because it does fit into the Michael cinematic universe of sneaky angel movies.
Of angels coming back down to earth.
And falling in love.
You telling me the City of Angels is low-key about an angel?
I'm going to add it to my watch list right now.
You're welcome for that.
It's a deranged movie.
For a raucous Saturday night watch.
Any final thoughts on Sleepless in Seattle? Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan, anything to close us out? Any final thoughts, Kieran?
It is one of my favorite movies. I will watch it any day, anytime. And it is the foundations of who I am. I don't know. It's dramatic, but
wow. Do you remember the first time you saw it?
I don't, because I was probably 8 years old.
Sick. It's just been around forever.
I was Jonah. Yeah, I was Jonah just absorbing this, just being like, okay, now I know what love is and what should be happening.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure. This movie is wonderful. Thanks for picking it. Thanks for being here. Please let the people know about everything you got going on. I don't know if we've had you on since your big new job that you have now.
Yes.
Tell the people.
So I am the social media manager of Super Yaki now, and we make some t-shirts that are movie themed if you like movies. It's a lot of fun. I also have a podcast called Zillennial Canon with some fucko named Adam.
Jesus. You guys still
Hate that
kicking
guy.
it?
Yeah.
You gotta replace that
and
guy.
Yeah. I know. Yeah.
We love Z
Yeah,
Cannon.
that's
We
it.
love Adam.
Is he coming to our party on Sunday?
Oscars?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
He
And he'll
told
be on
me
this series.
something about like the Oscar pool, like what he wants to make you guys watch if he wins. So
Oh
Mhm.
God.
Love
Yeah.
it. He might win.
So did I win last year?
I think so.
So how I won, and my prize for winning was getting to randomly pick.
I don't think we should do that this year.
That was so fucking stupid. I
Yeah, it was
didn't,
weird
I
that
didn't
we
get a
had not-
prize.
Hey, man.
I'm not gonna win again.
You could.
I mean, if I go to the same article I went to last year,
Maybe go back.
I guess I will.
Yeah, roll the
Look,
dice
you
again.
can just pick a movie for us to cover. We can do a birthday movie. Let's do a Drew episode.
Oh,
Isn't every episode a Drew episode? Come on. Like,
come on.
It's,
Stop it. I love you guys.
Okay. Well, thanks again, Kyra. And thank you all for listening. Please rate, review, and subscribe, like, and comment. Let us know your thoughts on Sleepless in Seattle, on Hanks, on Meg Ryan, the rom-com. Should it come back? Would Glenn Powell and Sydney Sweeney be down bad?
Sydney Sweeney needs to be nowhere near this.
Down bad
this
in
movie.
Denver coming soon?
Down Bad and Denver, the sequel.
Let us know. Please visit weboughtamic.net to get every episode in your inbox. Sign up for updates. Join the Discord. Donate. Thank you, donors, for donating. Patreon.com/weboughtamic. Next week, it's Interview with the Vampire, a
Nice.
Tom
Back to
Cruise
Cruise.
film.
Oh boy.
It's a movie about two gay dads and their lesbian daughter.
That's going to be an unhinged episode. I can't wait for it.
Have you seen that movie, Kyra?
I have not,
Oh.
but I'm familiar with the homoeroticism of it.
It is a wonderful film. I am so excited.
It's there's just something that Cruise seems to be bringing to the table quite a bit across this filmography.
It is a very, very 90s movie. And that's all I'll say. Also, stick around for Oscar predictions and Dune 2. We will bring you deep sand thoughts on Dune 2 just as soon as Drew gets a chance to see it. Maybe we should go.
You didn't have to say
Yeah.
that.
Should we go see it at the Big Boy IMAX?
Drew, actually, will you go see it with me in 4DX?
Oh,
I
God.
really want to go see it in 4DX. I want to get my I want to ride Shai Hulud. Okay, I want to get my shit wrecked.
I think I said this in the group chat today. I want to grill and eat the worm. I think it would have the consistency of grilled octopus, and I think it'd be good. You could have it with
Baby
like
worm.
some teriyaki.
It's got to be the baby worm.
too tough if it's big.
You can't eat the giant worm, dude. It's like a
what's
rock.
It's like pork. How like you can't let them get over a certain age because then like the meat gets tougher.
I guess.
We'll discuss this more.
Okay,
detail
yeah.
off mic.
Bye.
Bye.